Hello and welcome to Good Vibrations, the radio show for seniors, by seniors, featuring seniors. I'm Diana Dagg. It's NAIDOC week. The national NAIDOC theme, 50 Years of Deadly, is about looking back at the stories, marches, languages, art and leadership that have shaped the past 50 years. In this episode, Good Vibrations proudly celebrates that unique and continuing role that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders play in our lives and have also played in the 60,000-year history of this land. In the Inner West, the traditional owners of the land are the Gadigal and Wongal peoples of the Eora Nation. So we have a packed program as Good Vibrations celebrates NAIDOC Week. Firstly, Steve plays much-loved music of celebration by some famous Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander bands. These songs continue to make an enormous cultural and political impact. Next, Allan Barnes, a highly respected Wiradjuri elder and resident of the Inner West, joins us for an interview about the significance of NAIDOC Week. And finally, Judy O'Connor reviews the Bark Petitions by Claire Wright, a historical novel which has just won the Book of the Year at the New South Wales Literary Awards. But let's start with timepieces and more marvellous music from Steve.
6 years I've been in the desert, and every night I dream of the sea. They say home is where you find it. Will this place ever satisfy me? For I come from the salt water people. We always lead by the sea. Now I'm out here west of Alice Spring with a wife and a family, and my island home, my island home. My island home is waiting for me. In the evening the dry wind blows from the hills and across the plain. I close my eyes and I'm standing in a boat on the sea again. And I'm holding that long kettle spear, and I feel I'm close now to where it must be. My island home is waiting for me. Salt water people, we always lead by the sea. And my island home, my island home, my island home is waiting for me. In the evening the dry wind blows from the hills and across the plain. I close my eyes and I'm standing in a boat on the sea again. And I'm holding that long tail spear, and I feel I'm close now to where it must be. My island home is waiting for me. My island home, my island home, my island home is waiting for me. My island home.
and hello, listeners. That opening track for this week's Timepieces tribute to NAIDOC Week is by the Warumpi Band, Australia's trailblazing crossover Indigenous masters with their trademark track My Island Home, later made famous by Christine Anu. Warumpi Band was formed in the outback settlement of Papunya, Northern Territory in 1980. My Island Home was written by Neil Murray for George Barrawanga, the band's vocalist and didgeridoo player, referencing Barrawanga's home at Elko Island off the coast of Arnhem Land in the Northern Territory. It was recorded in 1986 and released as a single from their second album, Go Bush. The National Aboriginal and Islanders Day Observance Committee, or NAIDOC, has its roots in activism and advocacy for Indigenous rights. It began with the 1938 Day of Mourning, organized by Aboriginal leaders to highlight the poor treatment and systemic discrimination faced by Indigenous Australians. NAIDOC Week is inclusive, inviting all Australians to participate, learn and show support. Initially observed as a single day, it expanded to a week-long celebration in 1975 and was renamed NAIDOC in 1991 to formally include Torres Strait Islander peoples. Over the decades, it has evolved from a protest-focused observance to a celebration of culture, history, and community achievements. Next, another song celebrating NAIDOC is by Goanna, an Australian rock band which formed in 1977 in Geelong as a Goanna band with mainstay Shane Howard as singer-songwriter and guitarist. Solid Rock was released in 1982 and won the Countdown Music and Video Awards as the best debut single that year. There's a gentle ache in Shane Howard's delivery, the sound of someone who has seen hardship, beauty, and injustice and sings from that place of truth. So here, listeners, is Goanna's hit, Solid Rock.
Not in a hurry anymore.
someone like? Yeah, will someone like? Someone like? I can't decide. Will someone like? Oh, and now you're standing on solid rock, standing on sacred ground, believing on borrowed time, and the waves of change are blowing down the line. Solid rock, standing on sacred ground, believing on borrowed time, and the waves of change blowing down the line. Solid rock, whoa, sacred ground, believing on borrowed time, and the waves of change blowing down the line.
According to Howard, the inspiration for Solid Rock came on a 10-day camping trip to Uluru in 1980, where he had a spiritual awakening which brought the fire in the belly to the surface over injustices to Australia's Indigenous peoples. He said, "I realized that this country that I grew up in, that I thought was my country, wasn't. I had to reassess my whole relationship with the land and the landscape and understand that we had come from somewhere else, and we had disempowered a whole race of people when we arrived." Coming next is arguably the most iconic of all Australian Indigenous popular songs. Treaty is a 1991 protest song by Yotu Yindi, Australian musical group with Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal members, calling for a formal agreement between Indigenous Australians and the government. Yotu Yindi was formed in 1986 as a merger of two bands formed in 1985, a white rock group called the Swamp Jockeys and an unnamed Aboriginal folk group consisting of Mandawoi Yunupingu, Witiana Marika, and Wikangu Munungo. The Aboriginal members came from Yolngu homelands near Yirrkala on the Gold Peninsula in Arnhem Land. The song was written in response to the Barunga Statement presented to Prime Minister Bob Hawke in 1988, which outlined Aboriginal political objectives and called for a treaty. Hawke promised that a treaty would be concluded by 1990, but no formal agreement was reached then or ever. Here is Yotu Yindi and Treaty.
Well, I heard it on the radio, and I saw it on the television. Back in 1988, all those talking politicians. Westside easy, Westside cheap, much cheaper than our priceless land. But promises can disappear, just like writing in the sand. Treaty, yeah, treaty now. Treaty, yeah, treaty now. This land was never given up. This land was never bought and sold. The planting of the Union Jack never changed our law at all. Now two rivers run their course, separated for so long. I'm dreaming of a brighter day when the waters will be one. Come on, treaty, yeah, treaty now, treaty, yeah, treaty now, treaty, yeah, treaty now, treaty, yeah, treaty now. Wala wala monsters can disappear, just like writing in the sand. Treaty, yeah, treaty now. Treaty, yeah, treaty now. Treaty, yeah, treaty now. Treaty, yeah, treaty now. Come on, treaty ma, treaty ma, treaty ma, treaty ma. Come on, treaty ma.
There are many performances and songs that highlight Australia's First Nations people's displacement in their own land. Great musicians like Archie Roach, Kev Carmody, Midnight Oil, Dan Sultan, Coloured Stone and Thelma Plum, among others, have brought these injustices to listeners throughout Australia and the world. Thank you for listening, and stay tuned for more good vibrations, and happy NAIDOC Week.
Love that music, Steve. It gets you up and dancing, doesn't it? Now let's hear from Allan Barnes about the story of NAIDOC. A very warm welcome, Allan, and thank you for coming in.
Normally, I'm on the other end of that welcome. I do lots of welcome to country things for the council and other people, somewhere between 20 and 40 a year, so I get lots of welcomes from my side.
You've lived around this area for quite some time and done quite a few of those welcomes. But maybe we could start by asking you a little bit about your family background, Allan.
Okay, let's go back to the beginning. I was born in 1942, 27th of June. I was not supposed to see the 1st of July. And I'm still here. I showed him. My father was away at the war. When he came back, we got sent to Cootamundra to work on the railway. He got sent to Cootamundra, we went with him. He worked on the railway there for 4 or 5 years. And at the time, eventually, we moved to Sydney. Dad worked in Sydney. We went up to Woy Woy to live because it's the only place we could find a house. Over time, I went to more schools than I can remember, actually. Before my 5th birthday, I'd gone to 3 schools. Oh. That's a pretty good turnover.
Amazing, yeah.
They kept kicking me out. No, that's not true. I grew up in what I considered or understood to be a normal white family. Eventually, I found out in 2004, quite accidentally, I guess, that my father was Aboriginal. He was the best father you can imagine. He was a wonderful man. He was very community-minded. He did things like starting boys' clubs, like the police boys' clubs in the city. 2 in particular stick in my memory, and one of them was in a country town, Cootamundra, where we lived at the time, where he and a group of friends from the railway decided they'd start a boys' club, which is fair enough. That's as you do. They needed a hall. So they decided to find one that was surplus to requirements, in inverted commas, over at a defence establishment, and they borrowed it, cut it into pieces and transported it, put it back together, and that was the boys' club.
Wonderful.
That's really,
pretty amazing.
You couldn't do it today, could you?
No, you could
You'd get
not.
arrested.
And
Yeah.
we'll move on to talk about the Reconciliation Week in a moment. But I remember you saying that your mum used to tell you to hide away in case.
Yep.
Can you tell us
We
a bit about
lived a lot of places over time because Dad's income wasn't great. He was at the second bottom level on the scale. But this time we were living in a tent in a campground in Matraville, Beecham Road, Matraville.
Yes.
And I can remember Mum, clear as a crystal, Mum telling us when we first got there, if you see men in suits, come in a big black car, run and hide. At the time I thought, that's a weird thing to do, but anyway, that's what Mum says, that's what we'll do.
Yeah, good work.
We were
good
there
work.
for 4 or 5 months and the men in big black cars never turned up.
Right.
It's still there in my memory. They were welfare. Came into places like that and picked out kids who were, as I understand it, neglected. That might mean anything. It might have a runny nose. They were neglected. Anyway, we didn't get there. But we lived in lots of other places along the way. And eventually, I was working for Marrickville Council. I had an injury that warranted going to see a neurosurgeon. Dr. Martin was a neurosurgeon, and out of curiosity thought I'd better find out what this bloke is. And I looked him up on the net. And I was scrolling through the Martins. Up came this thing. Colonel Martin had put together a list of all the men from New South Wales who went to the Boer War. Now, that's interesting. So I scrolled through the names from the New South Wales Imperial Bushmen, they were called. A man with a regimental number of 498 had a name that really got my attention, John Alexander Barnes, same as my brothers. And that started the ball rolling. So a lot of investigation later, I discovered that John Alexander Barnes was my grandfather. He was one of 9 Aboriginal men who went to the Boer War. They weren't supposed to be able to enlist, but 9 of them did. And that started, okay, so he's a black fella, though it means my dad must be a black fella, and I am too. That train just kept on going.
And you discovered then that you had links to Tasmania as well.
Yes, Dad's father's family and connection was Wiradjuri. The town was Wellington, up near Dubbo.
Yeah.
That was fine. That went along for years. Okay, I'm Wiradjuri, I'm a black fella. And then out of the blue, there's this name, Susanna. Who the hell is Susanna? Turned out she's my great-great-grandmother. Palawa woman from Tasmania. That's another long story we can do another day.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Oh.
That's a big, long story. And there's a big, long story as well, I understand, Allan, about Reconciliation Week.
You have to start with NAIDOC. NAIDOC came out of the celebration of 150 years of settlement. The Aboriginal community in Sydney decided they would protest. So they had a day of mourning protest.
Uh-huh.
They had a meeting in a hall in Castlereagh Street in the city. It was called the Australia Hall. No people other than full-blood Aboriginals, as they called them at that time, were allowed in. And they came up with a whole series of things that they were going to put to the government. And if you look into this thing, there's a photo showing the men involved. There was Jack Patton and, can't remember the other names, 3 of the big men in the Aboriginal scene. And there's a photo of these people and some women and some kids. And one of the kids is a little girl who lived here, just up the road there.
In Marrickville?
Esther Carroll.
Wow.
She died a while back. But you wouldn't believe it. There's a little girl. Now, that day of mourning led to some activity, some agitation, I suppose you could call it, that lasted for quite a few years until we had the referendum in 1967, and it was on the 23rd of May.
And what was the referendum for?
To alter the Constitution, because you had to have a referendum to change the Constitution, and there are rules about that.
Yeah.
But the question was, should Aboriginal people be included in the census? The answer came back, it was something like 98%.
I remember
yes.
it was resounding.
So remember that date. That's the date of beginning of Reconciliation Week. Every year, that's the date it starts on, and that's the connection.
Ah, okay, thank you.
NAIDOC is a social thing, sort of. Reconciliation is an attempt to educate. And
Right.
I know Aboriginal people mainly, but a lot of Aboriginal people as well, into understanding what we have in common
Yep.
and what we don't have in common, and to try to put the two together.
And to encourage people, all the community, to work together. I understand that the theme of this year's Reconciliation Week was all in.
It was. I was asked to do a talk to a defence contractor mob. There's about 40 of them online. And when they said the theme was all in, they all lit up.
Really?
Their eyes lit up because it's an army expression.
Ah, okay.
And they thought it came from that direction. It didn't.
And now the theme for NAIDOC Week is 50 Years Deadly.
Yep.
Can you just help us to understand where that came from, Allan?
Came out of the Day of Mourning thing. It was a few years after. It's sort of the Day of Mourning movement, for want of a better word, bubbled along quietly, and eventually they decided they better have an event, and it became NAIDOC Week. It wasn't NAIDOC Week then, it was NAIDOC Ball.
Right.
Held at Sydney Town Hall, where all the beautiful young Aboriginal ladies, girls, dressed up in white, like a debutante ball.
How moving.
And yeah, it was.
And what's the key focus of NAIDOC Week now, would you say?
Oh, there's so many focuses.
Right, okay.
50 years is a statement. It really is a statement. There's this thing with NAIDOC Week,
Yeah.
by little changes in name over the years, has been around for a long time, and it's done a lot of good things. So 50 years, that's the theme.
Okay.
And that makes the point.
Yeah, it does. And 50 Years Deadly is pretty powerful.
long
I
time.
really like that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming in today. And I hope that our listeners now have a better understanding of the difference between NAIDOC and Reconciliation Week, just like I do. Thank you so much, Allan.
My pleasure.
And now, Judy O'Connor and the Bark Petitions.
Hello listeners, I'm bringing you another episode of Behind the Words, where I talk about the stories behind books. This week I'm looking at Claire Wright's book, The Bark Petitions, which won this year's New South Wales Literary Award for Book of the Year. The book starts in 1963 when Prime Minister Robert Menzies granted mining licences to mine for bauxite in Arnhem Land in the Northern Territory. The government did not consult the small local Indigenous population. There was even talk at the time that the deal had been deliberately kept secret. The mines were to be on the Gove Peninsula, home to a group of Indigenous people known as Yolngu. 12 elders petitioned the government, setting out their concerns and seeking assurances that their traditional sites and livelihoods would be protected. Now, up until then, petitions were formal documents presented in the usual document form, but instead of pen and paper, the Aboriginal elders used pieces of bark with words and paintings to voice their concerns. There were 4 petitions, both in English and local Indigenous language. Interestingly, the elders did not object to the mining, but demanded the government set up a committee to hear their views and protect their sacred sites and livelihoods. A series of court cases followed, which ruled the Yolngu had not established native title and the mining went ahead. Claire Wright documents the history and debate that has ensued over the decades. Her style is a warm and intimate one, taking the reader inside the heads of missionaries and all the others involved. She draws on diaries, notebooks, letters, as well as film footage and newspaper clippings. So, what is the legacy of the Bark Petitions? Well, they were the first traditional documents recognised by Parliament, and they sparked the modern Indigenous land rights movement. The author compares them to the Eureka flag, flown at Ballarat at the Battle of the Eureka Stockade, while others have compared them to the Magna Carta of 1215, a founding document which established the rule of law. And guess what? You can see them for yourself next time you're in Canberra. 2 are on display in Parliament House, 1 at the National Museum, and the 4th in a museum in Arnhem Land.
Thanks, Judy. Well, listeners, that's our show for NAIDOC Week. We hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as we enjoyed putting it together. And special thanks to Steve Ferreira, Allan Barnes and Judith O'Connor, and of course to Inner West Council for their support, as well as to our trusty editors and producers. And a reminder to follow us on our Facebook page, and we're on YouTube as well. Please tune in next week at this time. And remember, when it comes to good vibrations, take them in and send them out.